Good morning. I'm Doug Smith. This is the 10 August 2012 edition of Portsmouth This Week. My guest today is Dave Kehoe, the Director of the Portsmouth Public Works Department. Welcome, Dave.
Well, thank you very much.
Dave, can you tell me a little bit about what public work does? Most of all, we've seen your trucks out there all the time working on the roads and along in the different areas of town. What are you guys responsible for, basically?
First, most important would be the infrastructure, the roads themselves. We have the grass cutting, the shoulders of the road, catch basin cleaning, inspection, repair. There's about 2,800 of those, and that gets inspected annually. We do snow removal operations, which is in a category all its own. We're responsible for a facility on Prudence Island. We have a gravel roads and some paved roads as a network on that island. We're involved with the transfer station, and more it seems like we're getting more involved with town-owned buildings and some of the issues that we've had with heating, venting, cooling, leaking. Roofs, it's a broad spectrum.
So you guys do a little bit of everything.
It is, and the old saying was, if it's public and it works, it's it's public works, and okay. It's pretty much true.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. How many trucks and other heavy equipment do you guys have, and how do you, keep these things maintained and updated?
Right now, we'll talk about major equipment, and it's 43 pieces of major equipment that we have. And it's just an unbelievable task. We only have one head mechanic to maintain that fleet. And anybody who has 2 or 3 cars at home know what a trouble it is just to keep up with them. But the head mechanic is unbelievably dedicated individual, very talented, and it's not just automotive and diesel. We have specialty equipment, catch basin cleaners, street sweepers, and the 10-ton trucks, backhoes, front-end loaders, dozers, and to have a head mechanic, that talented and able to, be that dedicated is a blessing. We know it, and we're very fortunate to have him.
I would think those kind of guys are hard to get to, so keep this guy.
Everybody, everybody's replaced. It's just in construction, that's just not true. You cannot just go out and replace individuals. And and to the credit of the rest of our crew, there are things when it comes to changing the blades for the snow plows, sandblasting, painting. Kind of like the maintenance type of stuff. There's every single guy chips in and does their part, with absolutely no complaint. So, it is a team effort.
Yeah.
When push comes to shove and, winter starts coming close, it's all hands on deck.
Well, you've got a great team, and please pass that on to those guys because they're always very helpful down at the town common, which is one of my interests, as you know. Yeah. And they're very helpful in what we try to do down there. Let's talk about budget for a minute, and just at least in terms of big numbers. What kind of budget do you have, and is it going up or going down?
The budget for public works as a whole, we actually had approximately a 5.3% decrease in the budget on the public works side. However, the town administrator, Mr. Klimm, he thought items which, and you have to agree with them, that they really belong, in the public works budget for oversight, and so that we can start getting more involved and taking care of, problems before they
Sure.
become issues. And it was approximately 431,000, 431,140 that was added into our budget that used to be out of our budget. So, we're now at 2,364,356. And that does not include like our program that we've been dying to get is the paving program. So that's $1 million on top of that. So it is a it is a large responsibility, and we're up for the task.
So with that $400,000 though is extra responsibility, as you say.
Comes
It's
extra
also spreading
responsibility.
your guys fairly
You know, Mr. Klimm hasn't, given me, clear directive, and I'm sure he's waiting to see, my response. How much can I get done?
Sure.
And so we'll be taking care of that. He's instituted bi-weekly meetings, and there's just coming in. There's just so much for an individual to do. So.
Yeah.
We'll be, touching on that. And
how many people are
forward.
in your department, in the Public Works Department?
We have, we have the deputy and myself, and then we have 14 individuals. And it kind of breaks down from that because out of the 14, we have 2. One lives on Prudence Island full-time, and then we have a foreman, another great guy. And he makes a commute every single day to Prudence Island. So we have 2 guys on Prudence Island.
He lives on Prudence?
We have one that's full-time resident. That's, emergencies, snow
Sure.
removal. We can't be sending, ferries over sure. or police boats. And so that was part of the requirement. One guy lives there, and then we have the commuter. So, that brings us down to 12. And then we have the head mechanic. And then there's a police maintenance mechanic who's actually in my budget. And so that effectively leaves, 10 men, in the field. Then, of course, you have to figure, vacations and things like that
sure.
out of that. And it gets a little tough, this time of year because they're not even allowed to take, we allow one guy off in the wintertime for vacation for a short amount of time because, that's considered emergency services. So we can't have guys taking vacation. And then when you have the good weather, to get work done, it does become a little challenging to try to, get
sure.
everybody to get the work done.
Well, the thing is, you're wearing a tie today, and I kidded you about it when you came in.
Yeah.
But, and I know you're the director and the manager of the Department of Public Works, but I also know that you don't sit behind a chair at your desk all day. What are the kind of things that you personally do besides the management functions? Because I've seen you out just about everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what ends up happening. A good portion of the day, and I think it's unfortunate, is that I am behind the the computer, a little bit longer than what I really would hope for. I enjoy getting out into the field. I walk around, by management and check on the guys. I try to keep the pulse, of what's happening in the field. And, typically, I'm kind of like a troubleshooter. If there's issues between neighbors, visibility problems, I usually, we don't just post a notice, I just knock on the door.
That could be a tough job in Portsmouth.
It is, and, but I introduce myself, and, one of the things that, we try to do for all our residents is make every contact that they have, a positive contact. And, we look for, every call we try to help. There's no one who calls where we don't care. We do care, and we do want to help. That being said, there are times where, you walk into a situation, you know that there's no matter what you're going to do, you're not going to satisfy for that time. So you kind of have a cool-off period and then revisit. Yeah.
Getting back to the paving, this, $1 million sounds like an awful lot for the paving. I know when they discussed it in the council meetings, though, we've deferred maintenance on these roads for so long that $1 million is probably a drop in the bucket. Do you have a list of roads, and I understand this is starting to take place now, even as we speak.
It is.
People are out working on the roads. Can you give us an idea of where they are?
Sure. And again, I got to thank the town administrator, Mr. Klimm. This was something that he felt very strong about, and I'm sitting in the background and doing what I'm supposed to do, and he didn't waver, a fraction of an inch. He stayed on target. He knew what he wanted to do, and he got it done. And for me, and that's something that I've not been successful at. I've put the money in, I've asked for it, and haven't got it. So I'm just really fortunate that we're the custodian of the infrastructure. We have $100 million worth of assets.
And the roads are the biggest and most important piece.
And it's huge. And it's huge. And we have a few things broken up. This Wednesday, the council is going to be asked to approve an invitation for bid, and Carty Corporation got that bid. But in the interim, what we've done there's always a lot of prep work before just going to pave, and even writing the contracts is very, very time consuming, because you want to make sure that you have enough flexibility in there to subtract, add, and things come up in construction. It's not like, oh, you're going to do A, B, and C and it's going to work out to be, there's never been a job site on in my life, and I've been on them since I've been 12, that has gone 100% according to plan. So you need that flexibility. To the question though, we started last week, and a couple of months ago our crew was out and fixing the structures. We have the 2,800 catch basins, and the cardinal sin would be you pave a road, and then Public Works is out there digging up the road because a catch basin collapsed or failed.
And the catch basins, you mean like around the waste where the water drains out?
Exactly right. Okay. On the curb side of the road, typically the frame and grate. And again, to our guys' credit, the crew, each one has been trained and is fully capable of rebuilding. And sometimes they're complex. It's not just you're building a structure 6 or 7 foot deep with barrel blocks and coming up and working the topography. A lot of these basins that we're rebuilding, they have 3, 4 pipes in them. And so you can imagine trying to, work and construct that. It takes time to get good at, and every single one of our guys is able to do that, and which really helps, the town. We make sure that the catch basins and the structures are in good shape. This week we had crack sealing done, which is part of the microsurfacing. And
where was this? What part of town was this?
Well, right now, so this is the prep work, and starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we always leave Friday, weather dependent. We're going to have Indian Avenue will be completely microsurfaced. Then we'll have Wapping Road, which is from Sandy Point Avenue to Brayman's Lane. That's that section. Then it turns nice after that. That'll be done. And then the entire Sandy Point Avenue, and that's from East Main Road right down to the Sandy Point Beach. And that was a separate. Didn't need to go out for an invitation for bid. We piggybacked on Exeter bid, and the square footage prices was awesome. So we snagged that, worked with seal coating, and so that is going to take place next week. And then on the 14th, with the invitation for bid, when that gets awarded, we'll actually try to have. We always have pre-construction meetings, for scheduling what we're going to do. Yeah. And meeting with the contractors, and so we have a nice mix, because we have reclamation, which is basically you're taking the entire roadway, grinding it up, resurfacing it, 2-inch binder, 1.5 inch top. Another thing we refer to as a mill and overlay. And you don't want to ruin your, if you've got a 4-inch gutter and you keep putting asphalt next to it, then your reveals, get down. So you mill out that. Typically you have wheel running as well. Yeah. And then the mill and overlay is basically you scratch it, and then it's 1.5 inch
Probably
top.
way too much information for me on paving, but
yeah,
I know you're an expert at that stuff.
You could go on for paving forever. I apologize for that.
So it's starting essentially in the southern part of Portsmouth, and eventually it'll work up to the northern part. And the rest
and these are roads that are getting done. Besides the ones that we just mentioned, the reclamation, which would be the full rehab, is Raynham Ave, Island Road, Norwood, Lakeville, Berkeley, Canton.
And where are those, Dave?
Mainly in Common Fence Point.
Okay.
Church and Leaps Road, which is over across from the Portsmouth Water and Fire Department in that area. Okay. And then the mill and overlay is, it's a high hazard intersection. We put precedent on that. Stubtoe Lane, we have Linden Ave, Anthony Road, everybody knows the shape of that. Another one that leads to Common Fence Point. Bailey's Ave, and then a section of Middle Road as well.
Now, if somebody wanted to know, like, let's say you're living in Common Fence Point, and you'd like to know some kind of idea when their road's going to be worked on or torn up or whatever, is there some way that they can contact you guys and give them a general schedule or something?
Yes, we have right now posted on the Portsmouth website.
I was just going to suggest
that is listed. We put in to the Newport Daily News as a service to us. They do that at no charge.
Okay, so there are ways for people to find out.
Right. Yeah. And Portsmouth Patch. We make use of Portsmouth Patch as well.
Now, what happens when you have to totally redo these roads? What happens to all this material that's removed during the reclamation process? What do you do with it?
Reclamation and the milling, which is that scarifying that you see.
That's what milling is, those lines?
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
put into
absolutely.
it?
And that's gold to us, because we take every bit of that material and we bring it back to our shop on Headley Street, where we have our yard, and then we will rent a screener, and we basically make our own road base.
So recycle it.
Everything's recycled. There's nothing that goes to waste, and which is especially important for, you can think of the costs involved whenever you're going over to Prudence Island, which is majority of gravel roads, and at least we've got that material.
Sure.
We still have to pay the ferry costs, but if you had to pay that on top of it, it'd be quite an expense.
You know what's interesting? It seems like a fact of life or a Murphy's Law or something. But every time they totally redo it and you have this brand new road, somebody will have to tap into a sewer or something will happen and they have to dig it up. Are there any ordinances or anything that prevent this from happening within a certain period, or how does this work?
It is. We notify all utility companies, and we're going to be parallel. We're working on a pavement management as well. Now that we're committed, and Mr. Klimm will tell you that this $1 million, people who live around the area, they're going to see an improvement, but it's going to take 5 years of this before all of the residents start to say, hey, geez, we have some roads here now, and so that is going to be important, that we commit to
and the key is to keep. We need to spend money on this basic infrastructure, or we're toast.
All the time, you can't. And I know you mentioned in public works professionals, they'll always tell you. You mentioned the word defer. And we replace that with neglect, because that's
Absolutely.
what it is.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're sort of in the hurricane season. They're now talking about expecting more storms than normal, which is kind of depressing. But how well do you think your department is prepared for the next hurricane or the next storm that comes up here?
Well, depending on the severity of the storm, we've been through blizzards, we've been through hurricane, and the tropical storm. Our department, I would say, is very well prepared. We know what we need to do. We know how to do it. We take care of our equipment. There's a whole binder full of things that Public Works, gets ready for. Communications, obviously filling up every piece of equipment, making sure it's working with gas and diesel. Prudence Island, poses a little bit of a threat as we have to actually move equipment from our shop to higher ground,
to get out there,
because what will end up happening is you need the equipment to do the work, and you can't even get to the
and you guys
shop.
are usually the first responders in terms of taking tree limbs and all that stuff that's out there on the road. I know that.
So we have a good plan in place, and following that plan, and it's common sense too, because we stage different trucks in different areas, and the whole idea is you want to keep the roads open for emergency personnel. But you have to be mindful of, when is it time, that the guys come back to the shop. We don't want to be out there cutting a tree and, in a high wind and having a limb come down on somebody.
I'm sure you're a member of the emergency operations group, or whatever they call themselves, that meet in the EOC during these kind of storms.
Right.
So I would think DPW would be a key
player, close contact, in communication, throughout the storms, and that's winter storms as well. We have a bad winter storm. We do that. As we mentioned, there's the tabletop exercise, which is always good, because it kind of brings everybody in the same room, and I know what public works issues and problems are, but that doesn't necessarily mean I know police and fire. So it's good that you
get some exchange of ideas and understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's going to be on the 16th, and I'm hoping to participate in that as kind of a public observer or something of that during that thing. Speaking of storm preparations, what about an update on that fix on the drainage problems out there on Islington Ave and Common Fence Point?
Islington
you know
Ave,
about that, but
yeah. Again. Mr. Klimm supported, he wanted to make sure that we paved as much as possible. He wants paving done. But he did understand that that's a long-standing problem in Common Fence Point. And, similar, I don't know if you recall, Rhode Island Boulevard, where that held 1.5 feet of water for extended periods of time. And getting to Islington Avenue, he's approved. We have a DEM approved plan for an underground injection control system, and I'm happy to say that Public Works will be doing that job in-house as well. And that'll get started. And I don't know the exact timing yet, but we'll figure it and we'll get it in there.
Sometime soon, we hope, right?
Sometime soon. It'll be done this year. It'll be done this year, and really looking forward to that. Brian Woodhead, the deputy, he takes the lead out in the field on all of the special projects, oversight of the paving. Very knowledgeable guy, and he's a bulldog. He keeps everything right on target.
Okay, great. If people have problems, this is the storm season, and if we just get a sort of brush by one or something, and people have properties on their property, like flooding or major tree limbs down, who do they contact, and what's the process? How do you handle those kind of requests for help?
Each one is individual. I mean, a lot of times
do they just call you guys?
They call me, and we'll review plat maps and so forth. And if it's a town tree, it's not an issue. If it's on town public property, we take care of it. If it's private property, if you have a light storm and a branch comes down, you're on your own. You're responsible for that. And in a larger hurricane, decisions, or big tropical storms, you really want decisions to be made, and I'm sure this will come up in that tabletop exercise sooner than later, because we have a whole nother set of forms that we have to track: equipment, materials, labor, any vendors that we have, and typically through FEMA, not all the time, but if they're going to step in, they have a 70% reimbursement for 72 hours. So you really, if you've got a big mess out there and you have the ability to take care of it, sometimes you want to inundate the transfer station.
You guys used to come along after storms, and people would move the branches and stuff over to the side of the road, and you'd pick it up.
Right, yeah.
What's the policy for that now?
That policy was changed with the interim administrator and I believe Councilman President Robichaud got together and really, thought that private property is private property, and they didn't want Public Works spending any time or effort on that. And you can see the point of that. And that during that storm, if you remember, even in Irene, the council got together and they changed it because they figured it was good for that. So I think each one will be unique, and they'll make a change. But whatever the orders are, we'll follow them. Okay,
we're sort of running out of time. I know I could spend a lot more time talking to you because I learned something at each of these sessions. But let me ask you one thing about mosquitoes. For some reason it seems, and maybe it's just the perception or something, that mosquitoes are particularly bad this year. And I know folks in Island Park have complained particularly. Why don't we spray for mosquitoes? What are we doing about it?
Well, the first thing that we do is when I mentioned the 2,800 catch basins, the ponds that we have in town, and our roadside ditches. Each one of those are treated by us. We're licensed to handle the product, and we put a larvicide in. So the best thing you can do is to keep them from becoming adult mosquitoes to begin with. That being said, it's a horrible outbreak on the north end of town. Island Park, Common Fence Point, Cherokee, underneath Mount Hope Bridge.
Our area too is really bad.
Is really, really bad. And we do have a long-range plan in place. I worked with Dr. Al Getman, who's the state coordinator for the state of Rhode Island, mosquito abatement coordinator. And our worst breeding site in Portsmouth is Carty Cove. And now that things have calmed down with the dump there, with the arsenic levels, we're going to be able to move forward. We did all the mapping, we did all the permitting, and it's up to DEM. Even DEM has to go through their series of permitting to go in there, and we're going to reestablish all those mosquito trenches And there's another large trench that goes behind Highland Avenue, and that's become, they become in with sediment. So if there's moving water, you're not going to have the mosquitoes.
So there may be some relief in sight for
There is relief, and we also, this morning, we're spraying a garlic spray, which is a non-toxic. It's not a broad-based spectrum.
Keeps vampires away, too.
It's really a test area for I don't know about the vampires, but it's a test area for the Island Park playground, and it's something that, it's small enough that and we're asking our residents to, gauge, was this effective? We treated it this morning, Narragansett Pest Control, and they've got 2 more weeks of treatment for that, and then we'll see, how that worked out.
Okay, I think we're running out of time, Dave. I want to thank you for coming in and getting us up to date on this thing, and I hope we'll see you on some future programs you can add to what you've been telling us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Before I leave, I'd just like to give you a little update on the planning for the 375th anniversary of Portsmouth founding, which occurred in 1638. That means next year, 2013, is our 375th year of existence as a town. And planning has begun for celebrating that anniversary. We had 20 residents from Portsmouth from several town committees and other organizations met yesterday at the library to discuss plans for various kinds of events during the year with a primary focus on Portsmouth history. The organizers would like to plan at least one major event during each month during the year, starting in January. And just to give you an idea of some of the kinds of events we're talking about, the kinds that were discussed included having photo, art, writing, and other kind of contests, perhaps in the schools, town-sponsored swimming, a local regatta in local waters, a swimming contest, a cross-river swim, for example, from Tiverton to Sandy Point Beach, a tall ship visit to Melville, reciprocal visits with officials from Portsmouth, England, a revolutionary reenactment on the town common, perhaps, plays, choral shows, fairs, and other public performances. These are the kinds of events that we're looking at for next year to celebrate Portsmouth's 375th anniversary. Town Administrator John Klimm and Joe Robichaux were present yesterday and added their support to the group efforts. The group has essentially concluded that a decentralized approach would work best in Portsmouth, with a small steering group trying to coordinate overall, but most of the work and planning being done by the different town committees and other organizations, the Portsmouth Business Association, the Garden Club, businesses, etc. Volunteers are needed, though, and that's where you come in. We need help with fundraising, publicity, and planning the events themselves. We've established a users group, and we'll get that users group name up on the screen for you. If you could take a look and click on that, join it, to join in the discussion of as we go forward. We hope to use this as a tool to kind of facilitate planning as we go forward. And the key is, I think, public support. Your support is important. We need people to get involved. This is an effort to showcase Portsmouth's past and its present. We need you to join us to work through your town committee or other organization and help us with this effort. This will be a town effort, and I think it should be a lot of fun. Doug Smith, thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you at the next edition of Portsmouth This Week.